right. Austin Gomez. I don't even know where to start this. Iowa State, Wisconsin, Michigan. Let's start Illinois. Let's go
All right.
all the way back. Talk a little bit about getting recruited in high school, what it was like, and then why you ultimately chose Iowa State.
Getting recruited out of high school was crazy. You know, that first day that juniors would get a phone call. My phone was blowing up all day at school. But luckily my teachers were like cool with it. So I was just stepping out of class.
Stepping out of class.
I had a couple of my
No, I got to take this.
I had two wrestling coaches who were my teachers. So
That's
I did a
clutch.
majority of the talking during those two class periods. But yeah, I mean, every school in the country kind of was calling me, so it was kind of crazy. It was kind of hectic. I answered every phone call just out of respect because just keep my options open. And then I really wanted to come to Michigan. I was on an unofficial visit here when I was 16 years old, so it was 9 years ago. It was a long time ago, and I loved it here. Sean Bormet was here, Trella was here, and it was a good place for me. And then ultimately, what led me to Iowa State was Kevin Jackson. I was on a cadet Pan Am team down in Guadalajara, Mexico, and Travis Polson was one of the coaches, and he reached out to me, told me to come on an unofficial visit there, and I went on an unofficial visit there, and that's when I first met KJ, and then Angel Escobedo was there as well, and I've known Angels for a long time since I've been a baby as well. So the relationships I had with those guys were really special, and Kevin Jackson's what ultimately got me to Iowa State. And Ames it's a great town. I love it. It's great. So it was a good spot.
And then, like, when you think back about on your time at Iowa State, there was a couple years, but kind of briefly just describe your emotions when you think back, like looking on your time there.
Oh man, I miss it a lot. I miss Ames, Iowa a lot. It was a roller coaster. There were some good times, there were some bad times. Just up and down, fighting injuries, and stuff going through with my dad. That's when I was at Iowa State. It was just a lot of adversity I had to overcome. But I wouldn't change it at all. The way my career went there. Obviously, I wish I would have wrestled more for the Cyclones. I committed there when I was a 17-year-old kid, and wanting to compete for the Cyclones and bring Iowa State back, and they're back now. So to be a part of that building process was special, and believe what Dresser believed in, what that program could be, what at the time Mike Zadek was there, what he believed the program could be, and Brett Metcalf and Derek St. John. So those guys brought a different element to that program, and it's what Iowa State needed, I think, to bring it back. So to see them succeed right now, it's kind of special to see, So I love Iowa State. People always ask me all the time, out of the three schools you've been to, what's your favorite? And I always say Iowa State. I spent four years of my life there, 5 years really with that summer, but I wouldn't change any of it.
As someone who grew up 20 miles north of Ames, that warms my heart.
Yeah, Ames is the best.
It is it's a special place.
I was just there this past summer.
Now, talk a little bit about going through a coaching change when you were there too. KJ goes out to the Olympic Training Center. Was there any thoughts of, hey, maybe I want to explore my options then, or what was the pitch Dresser gave you?
Yeah, I was out of there. At the time I committed to Iowa State, they're the last team in the country, almost. They're like 40. They finished like 47th in the national tournament or something like that. So maybe for me, it was almost like a second chance. Like, all right, now I can change where I wanted to go. But I was heartbroken when KJ left. I really was, because I wanted to win a national title for Kevin Jackson. I believed in him. But I was out of there. I asked for my release. The AD, Pollard, wouldn't give me my release because back then you couldn't, there was no transfer portal. It was all just, you got to get your release, you got to do all these waivers, and then you can transfer. It was hard to leave, and Pollard was like, we're not going to give you your release until you meet Kevin Dresser. And Kevin Dresser, the week after I won my third state title in Illinois, he met me in my house, did a home visit. He told me the plans he had for the program. He didn't tell me the coaches he was going to bring in, but he said, you're going to want to stick around. And right then and there, I trusted him. I was like, if you know Dresser, he's a businessman, and he sold me on what he was going to do with that program and who he was going to bring in and what it was going to be like. So I put my trust in him, and I'm really happy that I did end up staying at Iowa State. I really am.
And then talk about the process of then joining Coach Bono and Coach Reeder at Wisconsin.
Yeah. When I entered that transfer portal, it was like 15 minutes later, John Reeder hit me up on Instagram. He's like, yo, what's your number? And I sent him my number. And, at the time, I had just moved out of Ames. I was living in Illinois, back with my parents for the summer, figuring out what I was going to do, take my visits. And, he was like, I put a post up on Instagram like, yo, need someone to train with when I'm back home, like who's available kind of thing. And Reeder's like, come train at our RTC, the Wisconsin RTC, 2 or 3 days a week. And I was within that 150-mile radius because I'm an hour and a half away from Madison, my hometown. So I was training there even before I committed there by a month or 2 months before I committed. So I was in there 2 or 3 times a week. I drive up in the morning and just come right back down. And yeah, those guys are awesome. I owe those guys a lot for what they did for me, taking a chance on a kid who thought his wrestling career was over, concussions. They believed in me, but I didn't even believe in myself, what I could do coming back. Just the energy they bring into the room, so uplifting, just high energy all the time. And, I think that's exactly what I needed, was being around those guys to re-up my career. And, I owe those guys the world. I consider those guys my friends. But just those guys are freaking awesome. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
What changed for you, or what sparked it? That was like, because you full and retired, right? And then we're like, okay, I do want to come back. And that's when you entered the transfer portal. What changed?
I missed it. I missed wrestling. It's something I've been doing since I've been a baby. So I missed it. I was watching a national tournament the year I retired. I was actually in Vegas for my birthday, just with my family, just to get away from wrestling. I didn't want to be around wrestling at all. I hated it. I fell out of love with it. And, I'm just watching some of these guys. I'm like, on the All-American podium, national finals, I'd be like, I beat him. And I'm like, it's just like, dang, did I give it up too soon? Was I too rash to a decision, too quick to it? Yeah, just seeing guys that I beat on the podium, and was like, dang, I can still do this thing, I think. So I started working out again, because when I was retired, man, I was pretty hefty. I was pretty hefty. I was living a normal college life.
Yeah.
I wasn't working out, wasn't thinking about wrestling. That's the last thing I had on my mind. I just wanted to finish school and move back home and help my dad with his wrestling club. That's what I wanted to do. But I started working out again. And I was like, dang, I'm starting to feel pretty good. And then at the time, my younger sister Alexis was at Grandview. So it was 30 minutes, my door to her front door. And so I hit her up 2-3 times a week, be like, yo, let's get on the mat. I go to Grandview, work out with her. And I was like, dang, I still got it. Taking a little while off the mat. And yeah, and that's kind of how it all started. And I was just told my dad I want to come back, and he's like, all right. And then if you know my dad, he built a lot of relationships, and he just starts hitting up every coach in the country, and just be like, yo, Austin's thinking about coming back, and I like get him in the transfer portal. And then I got in the portal, and the rest was history.
Do you think that time away, that break, was like a good reset for you mentally, physically?
Oh, 100%. Me dealing with my concussions was so mentally exhausting. It was just taxing on my body and my head and my mind. I was just like, man, screw this sport. I'm over it. I'm tired of it. And I wanted nothing to do with it. And yeah, just mentally, I was just like, why does this keep happening to me? Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, why? But, you know, it just, I just had to reset my whole body. I let my body recover for a little while because at college grind's a different kind of grind, you know. So I had to give my body a break, and you know that I took off from November all the way until April. So that's 5 or 6 months. It was really good for me to take that break.
And concussions are terrible too because with like a shoulder, you're like, okay, well, I won't shoot to that side. Or with
Mm-hmm.
like a knee, it's like, okay, you know, I can't run or I can't deadlift or whatever, or, you know, I can't get in this specific position. But with the concussion, it's like, there's not much you can really do to like prevent those other than literally just not wrestling.
Yeah, concussions suck. I wouldn't wish them on anybody. You know, they're not fun to deal with, and a lot of it had to do with me like trying to make 133. And looking back on it now, I'm just like, I don't know how I ever made 133. You know, just where I'm at now. It was just me probably not managing my weight right a little bit. You know, because in the summers I would get pretty big, and then you know I would lift and get big, and then I'd be weighing like 160, 163, and it's like when school starts coming around, it's like, gotta make your way back down. I'm like, damn, 30 pounds overweight. And then I would be doing really well bringing my weight down. And then once I started hitting like 140, 141, that's when the concussion started to hit, just from the dehydration and, you know, working out all the time and just not giving my body the rest it needed because I was working out 2 or 3 times a day, just trying to get my weight down. So it was really taxing on my body and my mind. You know, I just
That's when
remember,
it's not fun.
yeah, it just wasn't fun. I remember I was in Ames and, you know, I was running at night. I already had done a morning workout and we had practice at 3:30, and then I had to come back in. That was my routine. Every day I had to come back in at like 9 o'clock at night and get on that treadmill. And I just remember getting on a treadmill one day and I was like 10 minutes into my run and I was just crying, but I was still running. I wouldn't stop. I was like, I need to get my weight down, but I was like, this isn't fun anymore for me. But you know, that's a sport, and you know, it sucked, but it is what it is.
And then so coming to Michigan, you said originally, I'm just doing senior stuff. Like, I'm not going to take that extra year of eligibility that I could try and apply for. Was that because you were like, I've done the college grind, the season college grind. It's not for me. I'm done with that. Was that kind of like the thought process there?
A little bit, yeah, it was part of it. It was also I didn't want to do school again.
Yeah.
I'd already got my bachelor's degree at Iowa State, and I'd already got my master's at Wisconsin. If I stayed at Wisconsin and kept wrestling in Wisconsin, I would have had taken 12 credits, and they were all going to be in-person class. That's something I didn't want to do because at Wisconsin, I took 3 classes each semester, and they were all online. I didn't have to go to class, and it was awesome. It was like it was awesome. But yeah, I didn't want to have to, and I was gonna have to take classes that I wasn't interested in. It was gonna have to be like everyone got to pick their classes that they wanted, and then you know, I got the rest that was left over. So it's just something that just didn't interest me at all. Um, but yeah, fuck, I forgot the question.
So just no, like, so when you came to Michigan, what was it about Michigan
Oh,
that sold you on it here?
Kevin Jackson.
Makes sense. Yep.
Kevin Jackson. Sean Bormet. I've known Sean since I've been a baby. Him and my dad were friends in high school. Um, and so I've known him for a long time, had a relationship with him. I went to overtime when he was running overtime back in Illinois. And then I've known Josh, and, you know, he's a great guy, great coach. And then getting to know Debo now, you know, another great coach. So it's just the freestyle aspect of it too. It's like you got guys who are competing for other countries, you know, so you're not the only one. You know, you got guys that are going to Europe to compete in the European Championships and their national tournaments, stuff like that. So it was a perfect spot for me because they had 6, 7, 8 guys who were just training freestyle, and they just had freestyle practices. I was like, that's perfect. That's what I want to do. So I knew Michigan was the best spot for me, and everything's kind of come full circle now.
What was it like making the decision to represent Mexico? Because I know when like U20s and stuff, you were representing uh, Team USA. When did you make that decision, and what all went into that decision?
Yeah, so I mean, it's just the decision was like I get to be on a team every year. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously I have to go win the spot, right? Mexico is just like, oh yeah, you're on the team. I have to go down to these national tournaments um, often and go win those spots. So it's not, but just to not have to go through the gauntlet that Team USA has because USA is so deep. It's nice. It's less taxing on the body a little bit, not
Mm-hmm.
having to grind through those tournaments. But the decision started a long time ago back, mentioned earlier, Cadet Pan Ams in Guadalajara. I went down there, won both freestyle and Greco, and the president at the time of Mexico Wrestling came up to my dad and was like, hey, we want your son to come represent Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when the whole thing kind of started. And then,
That was when I got implanted.
yep.
Yeah.
And then my grandmother and my grandfather were like, how awesome would it be if you were to be able to go represent where your family's from? And me, I'm proud to be Mexican. I'm proud of my family heritage. Me and my family are very close. So it was an easy decision. I want to represent where I come from, where my family comes from.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I represent Mexico with pride, and I love to be Mexican, so it just made sense to go do that.
It's cool. Now you get here. The plan is just to just wrestle seniors. Obviously, now you are representing Michigan.
Yeah.
What pulled you back in?
Just I think a little bit was sour taste left in my mouth after World Championships. Not getting what I wanted there, and then when I came back, I just started looking up and down the line of this Michigan lineup. How tough it could be. And they're missing a 49-pounder pretty bad. So, and also I didn't want to have any regrets. You know, if people were in my position with one more year left, they're taking it.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, push off growing up one more year and just go do this thing. And I know I can go win a national title. I truly believe that I'm the guy to beat
Mm-hmm.
at this weight class. Of course, you got your Ridge Lovey, your Caleb Petson, your Kyle Parko. Um, but I really don't think any of those guys are beating me. I know I've lost to Parko before, but I wasn't 100% when he beat me. So, it was just like, man, let's go do this thing. Let's go win a national title, and let's go win a national title for the coach I was originally supposed to win a national title for, with Kevin Jackson. So, everything's kind of come full circle, and I'm happy I made the decision to come back.
There is something so cool about like being with a team. Wrestling's an individual
Mm-hmm.
sport, but like going wrestling a duel, wrestling a tournament, like
Yeah.
with your dudes, with your guys that you practice with every day, like it's different.
Yeah, I made some friends on the Michigan wrestling team. I was more hanging out with like the senior level guys a lot more,
Mm-hmm.
but that first trip I was on to South Dakota State, just being able to be around the college guys, be around that team aspect again, it was a lot of fun. And I was just like, dang, I'm happy I came back because these trips, the trips are the best part about college wrestling, being able to, build relationships with guys you thought you'd never build relationships with, just being able to joke around, going through the grind, the weight cutting in the hotel rooms and stuff like that, that um, I missed it. And, it's just great.
The body's feeling good.
Oh yeah, body's feeling good, 100% healthy,
That's awesome.
ready to go. Missed that first semester grind and just ready to push the second semester.
Hey, it's good stuff to hear. This has been great. I don't know, man. Is there anything else you want to add or talk about? Thanks, shout out before we let you get out of here.
No, man, I appreciate you guys coming to do this. It's been great.
I actually do want to talk a bit about your kind of like style of wrestling? You know, you're known for the upper body attacks, the big throws. How did you develop that? And do you take pride in being kind of like a crowd favorite?
Yeah, I mean, how I developed it was I have a Greco background. I've been wrestling Greco since I started wrestling in freestyle. So, my dad kind of showed me the ropes on those and just being like, if you're going to hit it, you got to hit it. Like, you can't be scared. And people always ask me all the time, like, how do you hit these moves? And I just tell them, I'm not scared. Like, I know that if I do give up some points, I know I have the offense to come back and win those
Mm-hmm.
matches. So for me, it's just like, screw it. Let's just rip it, and see what happens. Usually I end up on the good side of it. There's been times where I've gotten caught, and those suck. But yeah, I mean, I take pride in being the crowd favorite. I'm not ashamed of it. I want fans to get their admission costs be worth it. I want them to see exciting wrestling. You don't want to see 2-1, 3-1 matches. That's not what the fans paid for.
Mm-hmm.
They paid for excitement, and I'll deliver excitement, and I'm not ashamed of that. And I get ragged on a little bit saying I'm inconsistent. I'm If I'm inconsistent, you sure as hell had a damn fun watching me though. So, but yeah, I've taken some lumps because of it, but to me, I don't care. It's just wrestling, and it's just another wrestling match. All that matters is March. So that's all I'm worried about.
Scared money don't make money.
Damn right.
Where did you hear that? Where does that come from? How'd that
So
start?
when I was at Iowa State and we had our duel with Iowa as my redshirt freshman year, and just kind of wrestling DeSanto in the duel, almost pinned him to finally beat Iowa. Iowa State beating Iowa. And after that duel, I think I just tweeted out, "Scared money don't make money," and it kind of just all. That's how it all started, and I've just been rolling with it.
Did you have DeSanto pinned that duel?
I didn't.
No.
I didn't. It was close though. It was close though. It was a crazy duel, man. I think that's the closest Iowa State's been to beating Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Was that duel meet? It was a crazy duel because when we first started, Dresser was like, "We're gonna draw," because Tom and Terry Brands hate when you draw a weight class. They want to start at 125,
Right.
which I'm like that. You start at 125. I think that's how it should be too. That's how it is at the Big Ten tournament. That's how it is at the national tournament. So start every duel at 25. But he's like, I'm gonna draw, and I was like, if you draw, end up being on 141 and the duel coming down to me. And that's exactly how it played out. So it was a crazy duel, and it was awesome to be a part of that.
That is cool. You've wrestled a lot of guys from DeSanto to, I don't name a guy, at 149. Who's the toughest guy you think you've ever wrestled?
Oh,
You've wrestled world championships too, not even college.
DeSanto's up there, and then also Indonian. Bryce Indonian was tough to wrestle. Kind of same similar style. He just had that length on me that I couldn't really figure out. Um, he was really, really hard to wrestle because he has crazy hips too. So I had to be aware of like his big moves and stuff like that while also kind of trying to hit mine. But yeah, those two guys were definitely the two toughest because DeSanto's just on you 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
He's like just nagging at you, nagging at you. I'm like, dude, just get off me, bro. Let me breathe for a second.
Chill.
And like after you're done wrestling with them, and I know people like can vouch for me on this. It's like after you're done wrestling, you have scratches in your armpits because he's just like digging his nails into your armpits the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like taking a shower and it just like my armpits would burn. I'm like, you must
Yep.
be kidding me. So it would suck. But yeah, those two were definitely toughest two guys I've had to wrestle.
Dang, man. Well, whether you're in the Michigan blue, the green and red and white from Mexico, man, you've got a fan in me. So I appreciate the time and looking forward to watching you compete.
Thanks, I appreciate it.